Today, we're tackling a tough, really important question. Why do the world's most powerful organizations, the ones literally designed to stop atrocities, keep failing us when it matters most? We're going to get into this cycle of failure, and if you think that's a conversation worth having, do me a favor and hit that like and subscribe button.
You've probably heard that old line, often credited to Mark Twain. History doesn't repeat itself, but it often rhymes. And wow, is that the perfect way to look at what's happening today? As we watch these horrific events play out on our phones, we can't help but see these patterns, these haunting rhymes of failures from almost a century ago.
And that right there, that is the big, nagging question, isn't it? Why do we keep failing in the exact same way? We have stronger laws now, way better technology, and institutions built specifically to make sure this stuff doesn't happen. And yet, the patterns are still there. To figure out why, we got to look back.
So let's start with these unlearned lessons. It's a really strange paradox when you think about it. We have the Genocide Convention, we have UN peacekeepers, we've got satellites that can see everything, social media documenting it all in real time, and yet somehow the results feel eerily similar to a time before any of that even existed.
Okay, so this brings us to the two big players, the League of Nations and its successor, the United Nations. Now, on the surface, it might just look like the same failure, just a different name. But the truth is, it's a lot more complicated than that, and honestly, maybe even more dangerous.
So here's the key difference. It's really about the kind of failure. Look, the League of Nations was weak, and pretty much everyone knew it was weak. It couldn't do a thing to stop the invasions of Manchuria or Ethiopia. But the UN looks strong. It has the Security Council, a global footprint. But that very appearance of strength creates this insidious paralysis. We all feel like there's a system in place, so we wait for that system to work, even when it's completely deadlocked by one country's veto.
And it's so easy to just blame the veto, right? I mean, one country can stop the entire world from acting. But what if the veto isn't the real problem? What if it's just a tool, a symptom of something much, much deeper that's hardwired into how countries deal with each other?
And that something is sovereignty. At the end of the day, powerful nations will almost always protect their own interest and their allies' interests first. The veto isn't the disease, it's the symptom. It's just the button they push to protect their national self-interest on the world stage. So what we're really up against isn't just a broken rule and a charter. It's something closer to human nature, just playing out in geopolitics.
So that brings us to today, where the problem looks a little different. Our issue now isn't a lack of information, not at all. We don't have to wait for some grainy photo to get smuggled out of a war zone. We see it all, instantly, on our screens. The failure has shifted. It's no longer a failure of awareness, it's a failure of action.
And this just shows that disconnect perfectly. Back in the 30s, the League of Nations was busy debating resolutions while armies were marching across borders. Today, we're debating hashtags in UN resolutions while cities get turned into dust. We can now name a genocide with crystal clear certainty, but usually only after the worst is already over. The act of naming it becomes the big event, a substitute for actually, stopping it.
And you have to think about the people on the ground. For them, this isn't just frustrating, it's a profound betrayal. This line just says it all. For the people under siege, recognition without protection is salt in the wound. Can you imagine being told, hey, good news, we officially recognize the horror you're living through, while the bombs just keep on falling? It's a symbolic gesture that does absolutely nothing to keep you safe.
So, is that it? Are we just stuck in this loop forever? Well, maybe not. To break out of this paralysis, there's a clear strategy that's been put forward, and it's built on two solid pillars that go way beyond just wishful thinking.
Okay, Pillar 1 is all about creating workarounds. It's about admitting that, hey, the Security Council is going to get stuck. So instead of trying to get rid of the veto, which is probably impossible, the idea is to be more pragmatic. First, push for a new norm of veto restraint, basically a political promise from the Big Five countries to not use their veto when we're talking about mass atrocities. And second, empower regional groups like the African Union or others so they can step in when the UN can't. It's about making sure that one country's political agenda doesn't completely stop the world from responding.
Pillar 2 is all about making it hurt for the people committing these crimes. It's about moving from just talking to creating real consequences. That means getting forensic teams on the ground immediately to lock down the facts before propaganda can twist them. But here's the really crucial part: hitting perpetrators where it counts, in their wallets and in their weapons supply. If you tie arms sales and foreign aid directly to how a country treats its civilians, you create a massive incentive for them to clean up their act. The message becomes pretty simple. If you want our cash and our weapons, you have to protect human life. Period.
But let's just step back from all the policy talk for a second, because it's really easy to get lost in the charters and the reforms and the resolutions and totally forget what's actually at stake here. This isn't some academic debate. This is about life and death.
A child hiding under the rubble of their home doesn't care about forensic teams. They don't care about regional security alliances or veto reform. They care about one single thing: is somebody coming to save them? And the real danger of our system is that it gives us the illusion of action. We get the press conferences, the investigations, the strongly worded statements, while the actual, real work of saving people just stalls. We're literally arguing over who should hold the fire hose while the house is burning to the ground.
And the history here is just terrifyingly clear. The League of Nations didn't just quietly fade away. Its collapse created a massive power vacuum that was filled by the single most destructive war in all of human history. Now, today, the UN isn't really at risk of just dissolving, but it is at risk of collapsing in legitimacy. If the entire world starts to see it as a powerless talking club, what happens then? What fills that vacuum?
And that leaves us with this final, chilling question. If we're now at a point where a genocide can be live-streamed, can be hashtagged, can be officially named and documented, and the world still fails to do anything meaningful, what does that say about the global order we've built? And more importantly, what comes next?